What up, Buffalo fanatics, Z-Bot, Z here with you live. No, not again. Come on. Man, every time I go live, my internet lags out. What's this? Z-Bot, you gotta start using NordVPN for your streams. It will help speed up your internet. 2-year plan is 70% off at the bfvpn.com, and you get your first month free. Kingpin knows best. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Z-Bot back with you with better than ever internet connection thanks to NordVPN. Best live streams use the best internet connection. Visit the bfpn.com to take advantage of 70% off a 2-year plan with your first month free.
Kingpin, and you're listening to the Air Raid Hour of Buffalo Fanatics Video Experience.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Air Raid Hour. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me, as always, on Twitter at Judge Mathis. Joined tonight by a special guest, the permanent special guest of the Nap Knows Buffalo podcast. I'm not going to call you a co-host. You don't get that credit. Casey
okay.
Reed.
Wow.
You can find
That's
him on Twitter. You can find this Robert Redford winking meme lookalike Casey Reed over at on Twitter at CashOutBF. As always, we're presented by the Buffalo Fanatics and NordVPN. And I'll tell you what, Tilt is looking scruffy tonight. We got Casey Reed in the house, and in typical Casey fashion, before we got on air, we were having a conversation of what appendage we'd be willing to cut off for the Buffalo Bills to win a Super Bowl. I'm willing to go pinky. Are you willing to up the ante for pinky? And is anyone else, what part of our bodies are we willing to lop off for a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl? Because I'm going pinky. Are you willing to go any higher than pinky?
I don't need my left leg, like the whole leg, and we're talking about like thigh down. Like, I don't need it. Like, what am I going to do? Start running again? Absolutely not. I ran for 10 years. I'm over that. So I'm thinking just the left leg. And like, you can get good prosthetics now, so I don't need it. So I'm going to go the whole left leg. Thigh down.
You are officially a bigger Bills fan than I. And if anyone in the comment section is willing to lose an appendage for the Buffalo Bills, let us know. King Thriller says he got his appendix taken out a couple weeks ago. So maybe he's already given to the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl. We got Y saying he's willing to part with his Lance Armstrong, his left nut. Right. Don Keith says maybe the thigh doctor can take it off.
I don't want the thigh doctor anywhere close to my thighs. I said it, Alex.
Eric B says you can't beat a tiger with one leg. So
Eric makes a good point. He makes a really good point. Or maybe I can. Let's get a tiger. Pierre, get a tiger.
And Richard Rush says, Judge, I cut off both your legs for Super Bowl. So not one to cut off his own, but he's willing to cut off mine. Eightfold coming in saying he's really willing to cut off the ring finger since he is divorced. So hey, divorce does have its perks. But we got a jam-packed show tonight. We have a jam-packed comment section. I mean, we were like 50 comments deep before the show even started. King Thriller, Richard Rush, Brian Bowers, Soul Glow, John Herring, Adam Brown, Carolina Frank, AK Cash, Anthony Jordan, Jimmy Shive, Overly in the house, James FX90, Jason Humbert, Don Keith, Colin Kuko, a whole ton of you. And apologies if I missed any. We got Pierre in the house as well. Just so many of you already in here. Josh Clark, David R., Cameron Taylor, ready to roll and talk about Buffalo Bills football. So Let's start around the AFC East because there's some news from around the AFC East. We got the Pats on television. We got the Pats on television right now. You had Philly DBs chirping at Cam Newton for dumping the ball down. You got Matthew Judon, who's looking really good over there in New England. You got Jalen Waddle tearing things up in Miami. They traded for Greg Little, so maybe Austin Jackson's not working out so much over there at left tackle. And then in New York, woof. Mekhi Becton coming into camp overweight, saying he's getting beaten by edge rushers. And we got Carl Lawson tearing his ACL at practice today. Any of those things from around the AFC East pique your interest?
Xavier Howard getting burned pretty bad by Calvin Ridley. We didn't mention that one, but that one piques my interest. No, I love that DBs were chirping Cam, calling him check down Cam and stuff like that. Always going to throw it to the running back. That right there piqued my interest a lot.
Yeah, that was if anyone hasn't seen that video, it is glorious. Calvin Ridley just de-pantsing Xavier Howard in the red zone in one of their joint practices, and Chris Jenke comes in and goes, "You mean the New Jersey Jets, right, Judge?" And that was a great comment from you on the last episode of the Nap Knows Buffalo podcast. You had a Jets fan on, and you were talking with the Jets fan, and the Jets fan was pretty adamant. The Jets fan was pretty adamant that the Jets were a part of New York, that you could see New York City skyline from the stadium, that the Meadowlands is practically not even part of New Jersey. And what was your comeback to this Jets fan? Because it was great.
I asked him if Spider-Man would save Meadowlands. Would he come to MetLife Stadium? And the answer is no. Spider-Man's not going to MetLife. He's not.
I don't think his webs have that kind of reach to get across the water.
Not at all. Not at all. And he wouldn't be caught dead in New Jersey.
And Josh Clark coming in with the correction. It may very well have been Byron Jones, not Xavier Howard. So either way, very well paid corner getting beat. Very well paid corner getting beat there in Miami by Calvin Ridley. So that's just a little bit of news and notes about what's going on in the AFC East. But it's like, why should the Kings worry themselves with the news of peasants when we got something really important to talk about? And that's quarterback Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, because there was this tweet, Matt Perino, Sal Capaccio, all the different guys who follow the Buffalo Bills were on top of practice yesterday. And this is the tweet from Matt Perino. I thought it was the best summary of all of them. He said, Josh Allen started practice 15 for 15 today in the most extensive amount of teamwork in training camp to date. He was taking what the defense was giving him, and several of the defensive players were visibly frustrated as the offense kept making plays. So my question to you here, Casey, is this. I talked with Kendall last time. QB1 seems more confident than ever since he signed that extension, and I think the Buffalo Bills are ready to get off to a hot start on offense. What are your expectations for Josh Allen in this offense once the season kicks off?
To pick up where he left off. I think that's important, right? You don't want to see him come out there and then be rusty. Like, you want to see him come out there and pick up where he left off, throwing 300-yard games, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And there was an Athletic article too. And if you guys don't follow the Athletic, make sure you follow the Athletic. There was a great article written by Sheil Kapadia. In-depth look at the Buffalo Bills offense, was in the Buffalo Bills training camp. A lot of good things came out of this article. And one of the things that I noted was, he says a lot of coaches talk about avoiding third and long. The Bills' approach this year, and talking with Brian Dable and other members of the offense, is to just avoid third down altogether, and how the Bills have embraced a more aggressive offensive approach. The difference from Josh Allen and more, he talked about from his trip to Buffalo. It was a great article. It talked a little bit about how, Stephon Diggs is so important to helping the Buffalo Bills beat man coverage and all those different things. I just expect the Buffalo Bills to come out week one and absolutely curb stomp the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was like, it's absolutely insane to me how this offense seems to be just clicking day after day after day in training camp. I don't need to see Josh Allen play down this preseason, and I think they can really hit the ground running on this offense. So I'm just really looking forward to the season, but we still got some preseason to go. We still got some preseason to go before that. But before we get to the preseason, before we get to the preseason, we talk about the Bears. I got to call out my man Pierre here, and I know Pierre's in the comment section.
You don't have to.
I know he's waiting for it. I got to put my man Pierre on blast here. He had a tweet today that, quite frankly, I took some offense to. And here's what Pierre had to say this afternoon on Twitter. He said, Debating reasons why Stevenson may be more of a lock to make the roster over Jay Kumaro has taught me something. That Kumaro hype has turned into Robert Foster status. So what he's claiming and Pierre's claiming is that Marquez Stevenson still has a shot to make this roster and that Jay Kumaro is being overhyped. And I think that Pierre couldn't be any more wrong. The Buffalo Bills' top 6 wide receivers are set in stone. It is Stephon Diggs. It is Cole Beasley, it is Emmanuel Sanders, it is Gabriel Davis, it is Isaiah McKenzie, and it is Jake Kumaro. Jake Kumaro is out there filling in the Stephon Diggs role on the first team and playing like 2 series in that opening game while you don't see Marquez Stevenson on he's battling for the Buffalo Bills to keep 7 wide receivers because in my opinion the top 6 receivers on this team are locked. Set in stone.
Are you more mad at him for saying Stevenson has a chance to make this roster, or are you mad at him for saying that the Kumaro hype is for real? Right? Because you're dumb. You're dumb. You're dumb.
I'm mad at him.
Hey, I'm gonna let you talk. Right? I'm gonna let you talk, but I gotta finish first. Right? You're dumb if you think that Kumaro is not overhyped right now. You're dumb. You're absolutely stupid. Insane.
How am I stupid? Explain to me how I'm stupid.
He's overhyped, dude. I can turn my phone right now. I can go to Facebook, I can go to Twitter, I can go to any social media in the world, and I can see one tweet that's saying touchdown Jesus have maybe. I swear to God, he is overhyped right now. Is he doing good? Yes, he's doing fantastic, and I wish him the best. And he probably will make the roster. But if you say he's not overhyped, you're an idiot.
Okay. I'm not saying he's overhyped. If you're someone No. If you're someone on Twitter who's like Jake Kumaro is going to be wide receiver number 2 for this football team, okay, yeah, you're wrong. But if you're someone who's saying, "Oh, Jake Kumaro is overhyped," you're also wrong. This dude is going to be wide receiver 6. He's going to play all 4 phases of special teams, and he's a stone cold lock on this football team right now. He is miles ahead of Marquez Stevenson. The top 6 are locked in. Marquez Stevenson does not have a shot to make this roster as currently constructed unless the Buffalo Bills keep 7 wide receivers or somebody gets injured. Explain to me Marquez Stevenson's path to this roster.
So
what role does he play? What role does he play?
I don't care about
He's
that.
not returning kicks. He's not returning kicks. He's not returning punts because that's Isaiah McKenzie's job. And he'll be inactive on game day if he even makes the roster. What's Marquez Stevenson's path to playing time on this team? Because I can tell you Jake Kumaro's path to playing time. I can tell you Isaiah McKenzie's. I can tell you Gabriel Davis's. I can tell you Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders. I can't tell you what Marquez Stevenson's path to playing time is because he's got no shot at any playing time for this Buffalo Bills team. None, unless there are injuries. Kumaro played well in his time in Green Bay.
You want to know my honest dislike for Kumaro, right? My honest dislike for him is sitting there and trying to figure out information, find information, right? And then you put something out there and you say, hey, what about this guy? And somebody's like, oh, down Jesus. It's like, why should you make the roster? Steve, I agree with everything you said. I agree 100% with everything you said. But to come at me and say things like, not just me, but anybody on Twitter or Facebook, any social media, and say Kumaro is going to make the roster because a quarterback that's not on our team likes him and his nickname is Touchdown Jesus. Like that right there, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about that. Like, tell me why he's going to make the roster. And what you just said, that's why he's going to make the roster, right? So I agree with all that. I just don't agree with the overhyping because he has a cool nickname or Aaron Rodgers said he liked him. I don't care what Aaron Rodgers has to say. I care too. He's not my quarterback. I do not care. I do not care what he has to say, right? So I want to know why this dude's going to make the roster. And it's because he plays all 4 phases of special teams. And I think that's very important for a wide receiver number 6.
And some people are saying, well, Bobby is saying, and a couple other people are saying, well, you're disrespecting the speed. You watch Tyreek Hill and you watch Kansas City Chiefs year after year after year, add speed. Well, I'm sorry, but tell me what role Marquez Stevenson plays on this offense this year. Someone explain to me how he sees the field over Stephon Diggs, how he sees the field over Emmanuel Sanders, how he sees the field over Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, because he doesn't. He doesn't. So they're just going to stash him on the practice squad because he's not ready to play football yet. His only path to the roster is playing so well in preseason, they have to keep 5 receivers. because they have to keep 7 receivers because the first 6
Yeah.
are stone cold locks. Stone cold. They're locks. Jake Kumerow is a lock on this football team. You got QB1 singing his praises. You see him running with the first and the second teams well ahead of Marcus Stevenson, 4-phase special teamer. He's a stone cold lock to make this football team.
What are you going to do if he doesn't make the team?
I don't know.
Like, just out of curiosity, right? Because now there's clips of you saying he's a stone cold lock, and I hate saying he's a stone cold lock to anything, especially a wide receiver number 6. So what are you going to do? Chop off your pinky? Are we getting rid of
it? Chop off my pinky for Jay Kumerow.
Chop off the pinky for Jay. It's Jesus. Aaron Rodgers likes him.
Mm-hmm. So does Josh Allen.
Yeah, okay. Josh Allen likes everything. Name one thing Josh Allen doesn't like. That dude's the happiest guy in the world. I've never seen him sad.
Losing.
No, okay. No one likes losing except for losers.
Anyway, I just had to get that off my chest because in my opinion, the Buffalo Bills wide receivers are set, and guys like Lance Lenoir, guys like Marquez Stevenson, they're battling to try to convince the Buffalo Bills to keep 7 wide receivers. And Chris Jenke says
we can't keep everybody.
Have that path when you got 7 defensive ends.
Yeah, we can't keep everybody. It's just physically impossible.
All right. Some other news coming out of training camp this week was Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly was in attendance at the Buffalo Bills practice this week. He was working out with the linebackers. He was observing practice. He was helping out coach, just like Lorenzo Alexander did a couple of weeks ago. What are your thoughts on Luke Kuechly working one-on-one with Tremaine Edmonds?
It's the off season. That's my thoughts.
You were just full of insight tonight.
Here's the thing, man. I'm not like, okay, cool. Like Luke Kuechly came to visit and he was working one-on-one with him. Like that time is valuable, right? You can never not learn from a veteran like that. But at the same time, it's like, cool, awesome. Let's move on to the next thing. Like that's how I see it in my mind, right? Like it's awesome that he's learning from him. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to sit there and overhype him. Like Luke Kuechly is now, a coach on the team. Luke, a great coach addition. See, that's not who I'm going to be. No offense, Jason. I love it. No offense. I'm just not going to be that guy. I'm just more of it's the off season, and we're grasping at things at this point.
Well, I think that this comment right here, he's a great coaching addition soon. Got to bring in talent when Leslie Frazier gets poached. I don't know if Luke Kuechly would ever actually have an interest in coming to the Buffalo Bills to coach. I think that his heart is probably in Carolina. I know Carolina has also expressed interest in whatever he wants to do, whether it's in the front office or on a coaching staff. They want to have him there in Carolina. So as much of a relationship he might have with Eric Washington and Starlo DeLele and Mario Addison and Sean McDermott, I just don't see a path to him. I'm using that word a lot tonight, coming to Buffalo to be a coach. I think his heart might be in Carolina, but Jason Suggs comes in and says money, 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 money. Hey, apparently the Paculas don't got any because they're not willing to dish out for a new stadium. So, but Don says he hated scouting in Carolina. So it's interesting. Maybe the Buffalo Bills can coax Luke Kuechly to come full time. So one last thing before we get to the game discussion and the game chatter. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite free agents this offseason the Buffalo Bills didn't sign, and that's Roderick Johnson. And why do I want to talk about Roderick Johnson? It's because the Texans have waived Roderick Johnson. He is a swing tackle who appeared in 29 games, 6 starts over the past 3 seasons. This is somebody that our very own Tilt Money was beating the drum for this offseason. And a bunch of people were saying, like, well, if he got cutbacks, maybe he stinks. Well, they had a couple of guys developing. They traded for another guy in Marcus Cann this offseason to play him at guard. He didn't work out, so they moved him back to tackle. So there was a reason why Roderick Johnson is sitting out there on the free agent wire right now, just getting over COVID. Roderick Johnson, and Chris Jenke says he wants credit for him. I think he's the perfect type of addition, the perfect type of player to fall into the Buffalo Bills' lap right now this offseason, because I'm looking at their tackle depth, and it is scarce, and I will take any opportunity to get Bobby Fart off of this roster.
Was I on the show when we talked about free agents that we should pick up, and that was like a big discussion that it was 4 of us. I can't remember who the 4. Maybe it was you Kyle, and but
it was you and Nat.
Oh, was it?
He doesn't. You and your best friend.
No, he doesn't mean anything to me. But I love it, right? I love the pickup. But in the back of my mind, and I guess I'm being very pessimistic, but I don't see Buffalo picking up any depth right now. Like, I don't see them signing any free agents.
Yeah, I mean, this is something where, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to give Bobby Hart another week. And as we get closer to the season, like maybe after cut down day, this is something that they might consider. But I think you're right. I think in terms of making additions to the team in the middle of the preseason, that might not be something they consider. But I really want Bobby Hart off this football team.
Who was it that said it was a Bills beat reporter said that Bobby Hart's probably going to make it until the very last cuts because they need him to soak up the reps. Right.
Yeah.
So as much as we don't like it, he's probably going to be on the team until the last.
Without a doubt.
Second.
I have it in the notes for later when we talk about tackles. We literally have tackle eligible on the roster right now. We have Deion Dawkins, Darrell Williams, who aren't going to play a lot. Darrell Williams is going to actually play this Saturday, probably to see if we just to get him some game reps and get his conditioning back. Then there's Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, and Bobby Hart. That's it. 5 offensive tackles if you don't count Ryan Bates, who might get some playing time off the tackle. So the Bills are thin, razor thin. And I think the reason for that is they want Spencer Brown and they want Tommy Doyle to get as many reps as possible. So I think that now that Deion's back and now that, and Darrell Williams has obviously been here the whole time, I think you're probably going to see a lot of Spencer Brown and a lot of Tommy Doyle over these next 2 preseason games. And I think the Buffalo Bills want it that way. I think they want them to get a lot of reps. And, I mentioned Ryan Bates, and we're going to get to that in a little bit when we start to talk about the game, but let's transition over now to the game and let's talk a little bit about this football game coming up. And anything that you guys want to talk about in the comment section, the chat section, whatever piques your interest for this football game, let us know in the comment section and we will talk about it. Let's start with quarterbacks because I think the easiest thing to talk about right now, classic QB1, temporary QB1 revenge game. Mitchell Trubisky going into Chicago to take on his former team, the Chicago Bears, who have drafted his replacement in Justin Fields. A couple of things to note. I think that Mitch Trubisky is going to throw more and play more than he did against Detroit. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the entire first half. And it's also really disappointing me. I don't think Justin Fields is going to play with a groin injury. And the Buffalo Bills have played the most pockety of pocket quarterbacks this preseason between Jared Goff, Tim Boyle, Andy Dalton, and Nick Foles. I really was looking forward to seeing our defensive line go up against a guy like Justin Fields who can get out of the pocket and move a little bit. So I kind of hope he plays, but I do understand the Chicago Bears if he doesn't play. What are you looking forward to in terms of both the Bills quarterbacks and maybe watching a little bit of the Chicago quarterbacks coming up this Saturday morning? Oh, Saturday afternoon. It's morning for me.
Yeah. So I'll talk about Mitch in a minute. I want to see how Andy Dalton kind of responds, right? Because he said on wherever it was, he was like, Justin Fields is going to have a great career, but I'm quarterback number 1, or it's my time, or something like that. And it's like, all right, big boy, back it up, right? I know it's preseason, but if you come out there and you start throwing ducks, you're probably not going to be quarterback number 1 come regular season. And then as far as Mitch goes, like, I want to see the progression from when he was in Chicago. Like, what is he doing differently, right? I want to see that progression because obviously last week we only saw him have 2 passing plays, right? One was an absolute awesome play to Dawson Knox. I caught it for 10 yards, and the other one was Isaiah McKenzie dropping a 3rd down, crucial pass. Stevenson would never. So those are the things that I want to see from Mitch.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting. And like I said, I think he's going to get the full first half. I have it down in my notes here. I think that Moss and Singletary will be the first half running backs. We'll get to running backs in a second. And I think Davis, Kumaro, and McKenzie are probably going to be the 3 main receivers along with Dawson Knox. I think the Buffalo Bills at least are going to play some, whether it's Moss, Singletary, and Knox. They're going to play some starters, Gabriel Davis, Kumaro, McKenzie, a decent chunk. And I think they're going to give Mitch Trubisky a chance to let the football rip. We got a comment here from John Herring. He says, I want to see sacks from our own D linemen without having to blitz. And that's a good test. And that's a good test against Andy Dalton, because Andy Dalton, remember last year in that Colts game, Phillip Rivers was just dink, 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 dink. We almost lost that wild card game because Phillip Rivers was getting that ball out quick. Andy Dalton is that same type of cerebral quarterback who's been around the league a long time. And when you're playing a base vanilla defense, he's going to know exactly where to get the football. So if the Buffalo Bills can get to Andy Dalton in time and the Buffalo Bills can wreak havoc on Andy Dalton, playing a base defense, not blitzing, a cerebral quarterback like that who knows how to read a defense, that'd be really crucial. And that'd be super exciting to see some of the young guys do that. So AK Cash coming in saying he wants to see some play action dimes over the middle of the knocks. I just like to see some throws down the field from Mitch. Like, let the dude rip the football. Like, I think he's earned it. And I understand what the Buffalo Bills were trying to do in that first game, trying to run the clock, trying to get the game over with, trying to, really send the message to the team that we got to fix the run game. I'm not asking them to go out, spread offense, et cetera, but I'd like to see some more 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers. I'd like to see some more shots down the field that aren't just play action shots. Like, I'd like to see a little bit of this, especially with Dion out there getting some reps. I think Darrell Williams will probably get some reps in this game too. So it'll be super interesting to see what we got from the quarterback position. All right, running backs. Zach, you got anything else you want to add before you want to talk about some running backs?
No, it's running backs is curious, right? Because I understand what was happening last game with most everybody, right? Singletary looked good, right? I was done. I think Tilt said it best. He's like, I'm done seeing Singletary now. He can go sit down, right? Burita comes on and he does okay. Like, he's serviceable was the word that I used in our group chat. He was serviceable. And then Williams came on and he was not serviceable, right? There was a couple of plays where you're like, yeah, awesome. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. And then there was a couple of plays where you're like, dude, what are you doing, right? So the running backs is so, like, that's what I want to see, right? Because there's going to be a third running back on our roster, whether it's Burrito, whether it's Williams. I'm obviously a big, Antonio Williams fan, so I want to see Tone get out there and actually do some stuff. But I'd like to see him start sooner, right? Having a better offensive line than behind some of, the people that were on our line that he was having to run behind. So,
yeah, we got Lone Wolf coming in saying, I need to see more from Breida before I crown him anything. Here's the interesting thing with the running back room. Antonio Williams has not practiced this week with the stinger. Christian Wade has still not returned to practice this week with his injury. So right now it's Zach Moss, who just came back from his injury. It's Devin Singletary. It's Matt Breida. And it's Taiwan Jones. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Bills still run the ball as much with their lack of running backs, unless Antonio Williams or Christian Wade can get into the game. And it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize the playing time. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Zach Moss and Devin Singletary splitting reps like series by series in the first half, and that Matt Breida getting the entire second half. Like, that wouldn't surprise me at all, just based simply on the fact that Antonio Williams and Christian Wade might not play. And a guy like Taiwan Jones, do you throw Taiwan Jones out there at running back and risk him to injury when he's your elite gunner? Who knows? So I think that's the most interesting aspect of this running back room heading into Saturday is, do Williams and do Wade play? And if they don't play, like, you're going to see the running backs that most of Bills Mafia assume are going to be our running backs this season have to play a majority of the game. And if that's the case, do we maybe throw the ball more than we did last game just to take the pressure off of those running backs? So just a whole Pandora's box opens up here if those two guys can't play. It's honestly shocked me. And maybe they do play, but it shocked me the Buffalo Bills haven't gone out and like signed a camp body at running back this week. Like, we see week after week after week. Detroit, the guy who played the entire fourth quarter signed the day before. I was watching a game. Tavon Austin was playing for Jacksonville, signed the day previous. Like, he had been signed for a week. So whenever there's injuries and the guys don't want to give their starters reps, they'll just go out and pick a guy off the street and play him, knowing that he has probably no chance of making that football team, rather than risking their starters. So it's going to be really interesting. And that either tells you that, like, Reggie Gilliam is going to run the football, as someone just mentioned, either Taiwan Jones gets more looks, or maybe Williams and Wade do play, and I'm just overreacting here. But it's super interesting to see what could possibly happen in that running back room. And freaking Jimmy coming in saying we got to generate trade interest for Zach Moss. That's not going to happen. He's the best back on this team. I'll say that one too. Zach Moss is better than Devin Singletary when healthy. However, he's hardly ever healthy. So
he tore his ACL climbing out of bed. Not this year. That was in college. But come on now. The dude's almost made of glass. Sorry.
Pac-12 player of the year. Pac-12 player of the year you're talking about.
Dude still almost made out of glass. I'm getting out of bed constantly. I'm not breaking my ACL. And I'm not in shape. I ate a whole Little Caesars calzone today. Like, no, come on now. Come on, son.
TJ Yeldon is still available. So it's it should be interesting. And trust me, like Devin Singletary looks better right now. And I've said this before. It's because Devin Singletary has had the entire offseason to work out. Zach Moss has been rehabbing from an injury, so he hasn't had the chance to work out like some of the other running backs. So I do think Zach Moss is going to get off to a slower start this season. But
so that's Singletary's fault.
I'm not blaming Singletary. I'm just saying,
Moss.
Listen. All I'm saying, I'm not
Steve pushing narratives again.
No, all I'm saying
pushing narratives.
When healthy, Zach Moss is the better of the two running backs, in my opinion.
Hey, let's talk about the offensive line. Because
hold up, I got one more thing about the running backs I got to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Who is the host of this show?
Me.
I'm not
really,
Nap. I'm not Nap.
You
can't bully me. You can't bully me.
I can put up comments. Can you put up comments?
I can put up comments. Anyway, the running back room in Chicago, Montgomery, Williams, you'll probably see a little bit of them. But when I was watching their game last week, I was really impressed with a couple of their backup running backs. Nall and Pierce, they were running really hard. And I think that's going to be a good test for the Buffalo Bills defense this week, because I know you went back and I know you watched that football game again.
Yeah.
I was not 100% impressed with the tackling. I know it's preseason week 1. I know they're still shaking the rust off. So I want to see if the Buffalo Bills can go out and tackle better. And some of these running backs in Chicago are running pretty darn hard in that first game. And I think that's going to be a good test for the Buffalo Bills linebackers and players in the secondary. I don't want to be seeing Damar Hamlin getting beat in the open field again like he was against the Lions.
Yeah, tackling was absolutely terrible. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was the first preseason game of the year. Folks are actually being able to make contact, right? So where is Kendall?
I don't know where Kendall is. I think he's coaching.
Okay. All right, cool. But no, I'm excited because is Starr going to be playing for a while? I know they had him in, they had him out. Is Starr going to play at all?
It'll be interesting. So everyone, like I assumed, and I talked about in the last show. Effie's going to play. But
yeah,
I assumed that Starr was going to play the last game because it's been so long. And Leslie Frazier, someone asked Leslie Frazier that, and Leslie Frazier said, honestly, he looks so good in practice. We felt like we didn't have to play him in that first preseason game. But it seems like maybe even though Josh Allen isn't playing, it seems like they're going to be working some of their starters back in with the announcement that a guy like Dion will be playing. So maybe we see Addison and Hughes and all those guys, even if it is just for a series.
Yeah.
All right. You want to talk about offensive line?
I do, because I feel like, so I texted Kendall, and I think I was texting you at the same time when I went back and I watched the game, because there was so much hate from Spencer Brown, right? And I was like, okay, let's go back and let's look at the game and let's rewatch the game, figure out why is there so much hate? Did he just blow one play and then people were freaking out about it? So I texted Kendall and I'm watching it, and the first series where it was Mitch and he threw the ball twice, he was running, like that was fine, right? It was when Webb came into play, right? That Brown he shit the bed, just to put it politely. Like he got beat off the edge by speed. And I remember texting Kendall and I was like, hey, like what's up with all this Spencer Brown hate? Like what's going on? Is it overblown? And then literally my next message to him was, oh, okay, speed kills him, right? We knew that when he got drafted though. I think when I was looking at him back in February, it was, hey, you're not going to be able to bully him. You're not going to be able to push him back, right? But if you're fast and you have speed, you can get around him. And there are so many different plays where he got beat on the outside, right? And he starts grabbing, he starts holding, right? It's like he does not trust his technique to fix that. He doesn't trust his feet at all. So I think that for me was disappointing, right, to watch that, because you're thinking, you're like, hey, dude, you have all the tools. You can put it together and you can be that dude at tackle, but you're just getting beat and you're holding, right? And then there's another play where Breida actually had, I think 6 yards on the play, right? And Spencer Brown does an amazing job, right? He pushes them back. It's a great push for the run game. And then at the end of the run, what does he do? He just starts grabbing the guy. It's like, dude, you've already won the rep. What are you doing? So it was very disappointing to watch him do that. But I will say, coming into the second preseason game, I think he plays a little bit longer, right? And I think he improves a lot when it comes to the holding.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they play Spencer Brown too, because Dion's back. They mentioned they're
Yes.
going to play Dion. So I wonder if maybe they'll play Dion a series and then put Spencer Brown back in. I wonder if they'll play Dion 2 or 3 series and then throw Spencer Brown in. Part of me wonders if maybe Spencer Brown gets the entire game at left tackle after Dion so that Tommy Doyle can get more reps at right tackle. So a lot of thoughts go through my mind. Could possibly be a situation where Dion plays a series, Darrell Williams plays 3 series, and Spencer Brown gets 2 series with Darrell Williams now too on his right side instead of Bobby Fart. So that could be really interesting. Could we see for the first time, and I think this is highly unlikely because he hasn't been doing it all camp. Could we see a situation here where Dion plays left tackle, Spencer Brown gets a shot at right tackle with Dion? Again, I doubt that because of the fact that he hasn't played that all preseason. He's not comfortable, but your mind starts to wander when Dion plays is what exactly are they going to be doing with Spencer Brown? Because I think the goal at the end of the day is to get Spencer Brown and Tommy Doyle as many steps as possible. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if the Buffalo Bills played them quarter 1 through 4, Tommy Doyle at right tackle, Spencer Brown at left tackle for all 3 preseason games, every snap of the preseason. It wouldn't bother me. To me, like that's
No.
not a risk because I think that those guys legitimately need that much development. And Jeffrey Danger coming in and saying, don't play the starters long. They said Dion's playing. So yeah, I'm thinking it's just going to be a series or 2. But it should be interesting. It looks like they're going to give Mitch a legit chance to do some things at quarterback other than hand the football off.
All I was gonna say was Spencer Brown needs every single rep that he can get. He honestly does. Like he took the year off. He played at a lower program, right? So he's playing against lower level competition. He comes in, he takes a year off, and then he gets drafted, right? He needs every single rep he can get. So that's very important in the preseason. It would just be nice to see him improve from one preseason game to the next preseason game. Like that small amount of improvement would be amazing.
Yeah, we got Richard coming in saying Dion will just need a series or 2 to check his conditioning. Another thing I'm looking for on the offensive line that I think is going to be really telling of maybe Bobby Hart's roster security. Ryan Bates. I'm not going to let it go, man. The man haunts my dreams. He's living rent free in my head right now. Bobby Hart.
Yeah, obviously.
Ryan Bates, right? So Ryan Bates is probably going to start the game at center. I don't think the Buffalo Bills are going to risk Mitch Morse at all unless Josh Allen takes any snaps this preseason, which honestly at this rate, unless they're treating the 3rd preseason game, even though it's the last one, like an actual 3rd preseason game, we might not see Josh Allen. I don't think Mitch Morse plays. So Ryan Bates is probably your starting center. And then Ryan Bates comes out of the football game. Do you experiment with Ryan Bates at left tackle or right tackle? Like, could we see Ryan Bates get some snaps at tackle in this preseason game? That would be telling to me, because if they don't, it's either because they want to give Doyle and Brown as many snaps as possible, or it's just because like he's locked in as an interior offensive lineman now, and the Buffalo Bills depth really might be as shallow as a lot of us are prognosticating. So it'll be really interesting to see if they kick Ryan Bates to play at offensive tackle at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you like to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You are just full of opinions today. I love it.
And this is the type of professionalism. Did you not see me? I had to switch my headphones.
You were so stealth, and I was in the middle of a take. So
you were doing great, dude. I was definitely paying attention. Ryan Bates for life. No, I just switched my headphones, so I
you're good. All right, so offensive guard, interior offensive line. So and Richard comes in. He thinks that he thought that Bates was inside now, except for emergency. We really haven't seen a lot of that. And Chris Jenke says he wants to see Tyler Gauthier play center. I'm pretty sure that Tyler Gauthier was the 3rd string center after Jameel Douglas played, but I could be wrong. I wasn't paying too much attention to the offensive line, but Cody Ford misses practice. Forrest Lamp is still out on the interior. Don't expect to see Mitch Morse. So it's probably going to be Mongo at left guard. It's probably going to be Ryan Bates at center. And it's probably going to be Ike Butker at right guard to start this football game, in my opinion, from left to right. And we could see a guy like Jameel Douglas mixing in early, whether it's as the backup center or at left guard. I think Jameel Douglas is a guy who's really rising on this roster. And I'm really looking forward to now with a lot of this offensive line depth being cut away. I mean, we've cut 4 offensive linemen in the past 2 days. Seeing Jack Anderson get a legitimate shot there, probably playing a whole bunch in the second half. That should be really interesting. Anything on the interior of the offensive line you're specifically looking out for?
No, and it breaks my heart because I want to see Forrest Lamp play. Like at the end of the day, I do. So I want to see him out there, but no, there's not. We've seen what Butker can do. We know what Mongo can do. There's not really anybody else on the interior that really excites me. It's 2 tackles that gets me really pumped up in the morning.
We got John Herring coming in saying Cody Ford is having an excellent camp. Don't disagree. Right now, left to right, our offensive line is probably going to be Deion Dawkins, John Feliciano, Mitch Morse, Cody Ford, and Darrell Williams to start the season, barring injury. But Cody Ford's might not play this week because he sat out practice today. So Cody Ford not practicing today, a little bit banged up, not serious, but again, the trend continues for Cody Ford not being able to stay 100% healthy. Maybe if it was the regular season, he'd be able to play through whatever he is ailing him right now. But my guess is the Buffalo Bills are probably going to take the precautionary route, and he's probably not going to play. And it'll be really interesting to see because John Feliciano didn't play in game 1. Ike Butker took the snaps at left guard, which is the typical position that we're used to seeing Ike Butker at. But he's listed on the depth chart as the backup right guard. So now we get to see Butker probably get some reps with the starters at right guard. So that should be super interesting. Before we get to
I was about to say, I just can't believe I forgot all about Cody Ford. Like I would have loved to see him play some more because he had a really good first preseason game. So, and I know he was excited to get out there. So yeah, seeing Cody Ford back on the field was actually kind of awesome. Yeah. Ask me about the crucifix pizza. We have time. So we're just going to talk about Kumro for the next 30 minutes. So just ask me about the pizza.
You posted on Twitter that some picture of a half calzone, half pizza type of crucifixing looking pizza. Was that from Little Caesars?
Yeah, it's from Little Caesars. $8.63. It was pretty good. Yeah.
You paid $8.63 for that?
Yeah, $8.63. I bought 2 of them.
When you could have, you bought 2. I was gonna say when you could have gotten a hot and ready for $6, you paid.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing, man. I paid $2 extra because it's a calzone and a pizza. Like you just don't understand. It's a calzone and a pizza. It's everything you like about a pizza, right? And everything you like about a calzone. So in the breading, I thought it was just gonna be bread, like crust. I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be, it's just gonna be this, right? No, dude, my mouth is watering just talking about it. But look, in the breading, right? It has mozzarella, and those like long, like rectangle pepperoni, like cute thing, right? It had them stuffed in the breading, right, with the mozzarella cheese wrapped up, and then on top of the breading for the calzone, it had Parmesan cheese on top of it. Dude, it was amazing. It was. I would trade my daughter right now. She's 1 month old and she screams a lot, and I would trade her again for another pizza.
Are you eating it live on air for Nat Knows Buffalo this week?
Only if Ryan pays for it with his teacher's salary.
I like that one. So I want to pull up a tweet here because I want to transition now to wide receivers. And as I mentioned, I don't think we see Stephon Diggs because he's been injured. I don't think we see Cole Beasley. I don't think we see Emmanuel Sanders. I think you're going to see a decent run of Gabriel Davis, Jake Kumro, and Isaiah McKenzie with Mitchell Trubisky. But it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see who the fourth guy sprinkled in is, because obviously we've been talking about Marquez Stevenson recently, but Sal Capaccio and a number of people who have been live at the Buffalo Bills practice have noticed one wide receiver who stuck out, and that's Buffalo Bills wide receiver Lance Lenoir, formerly the Dallas Cowboys. He's had a really strong camp, according to Sal Capaccio and others, makes plays every day at all levels. It's going to be tough for him to earn a spot, says Sal Capaccio, given the current wide receiver group. But in most other situations, he'd probably have him making the 53-man roster. This is interesting because Lenoir is a speedier guy. He does have some speed to him. He also does have some kick and punt returner flex to him, so he can be a safety net of sorts. I sort of speculated because he didn't play until after Stevenson last game. He wasn't even in there until Fromm's last drive. Like, he was buried on the depth chart. It wouldn't surprise me if the Buffalo Bills are intentionally burying a guy like that because they're trying to stash him and hide him for the practice squad. So it'll be really interesting to see what wide receivers join Mitchell Trubisky, because outside of Davis, Krummer, or McKenzie, guys like Stevenson, guys like Lenoir, in my opinion, you're trying to stash for that practice squad. But are you playing guys like Stevenson? Are you playing guys like Lenoir? And are you giving them every opportunity to try to crack this roster, even if it means putting on a show for other teams?
I think you do that for Stevenson. Like, I think you do kind of give him a shot over Lenoir. You say his name so pretty. Say it again. Say it again for me.
Lance Lenoir.
Lenoir. Yeah, I like that. You can say that anytime you want. Yeah, so I think you said it. You said it best. I think they're trying to hide him, but I think Stevenson kind of gets the nod over him to run with Mitch and them just to see what he can do. Right? I think he earned it after his little stunt at the end of the preseason game. I think he earned a little bit more reps on the field.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know how much the Buffalo Bills are taking what happens in the fourth quarter of a preseason game into account, as opposed to
I think they do when it comes to your draft pick
on a daily basis. That is also true. But it'll just be really interesting to see who gets a run with Mitch Trubisky, because I'm with you. I'd like to see Davis. I'd like to see Kumaro. I'd like to see McKenzie with Trubisky. And then I'd like to see Stevenson and Lenoir sprinkled in, because Duke Williams is shot. I think we can all agree Duke Williams is shot. Tanner Gentry, I don't think.
Hey, you take that back. Don't you ever say Duke Williams is shot. He got a high five from coach. He's making the team.
Yeah. And we got Gentry, who is just Tanner Gentry, and you got Brandon Powell, who look like hot doo-doo. So, like, I'm not really impressed with some of those guys in the back half of the receiving core. Like, I don't need to see them at all unless it's the fourth quarter. It's Lenoir and Stevenson that have my eye. And obviously, I wish my boy Isaiah Hodgins was playing, but it is what it is. He hurt his knee. Another guy you can stash on another guy you could probably cut, waive, bring back, and then stash or keep on the 53-man roster. Chris Jenke's been talking to me about some of the vested veterans, guys we can cut without having to waive, and then bring them back like 3 days later. Sign them 3 days later after we put another guy in the practice squad. So Hodgins and Tommy Sweeney, who we're going to talk to about in a minute, are both maybe IR candidates early on, but it should be interesting. Yeah.
I have a question about Kumaro.
Yeah.
I have a question about this, because you mentioned that he is a lock on this team. Stone cold lock, which is a wild to say a wide receiver 6 is stone cold, but we don't have to get into that. My biggest thing is, do you think Taiwan bro, you got to quit. Do you think Taiwan Jones is making the roster, right? Does it come down? So here's
stone cold lock.
Why?
In my 53. In my 53, he's a stone cold.
Okay. Well,
in my 53, he's a stone cold lock.
I think the biggest question is does it come down to, if you keep Kumaro, you have to let Taiwan Jones go? Does it come down to that?
No, we kept 4 running backs and 6 receivers last year.
Well, I'm just wondering. You don't have to be mean about it. But like, do they not do the same thing on special teams?
Kumaro does not play gunner. No,
he does not play gunner. So, see, those are the things that I'm wondering about. Like, what does he do on special teams? Like, he's not the gunner. He's up on the front line.
More of an interior position on those things. So, I'm the mean one now. One now.
Thank you, John. I'm just over here. I'm trying to have a very nice conversation. I'm asking questions because I don't know what Kumaro does on special teams. And Judge wants to come over here and be like, I'm smarter than you. My name's Judge, right? And he just flops it down on the desk and says, shut up, and just sit there and listen to me rant. That's really the only reason why he wanted me on here, is to just listen to him rant. So go ahead, rant. Push your narratives on us.
And we got Chris Jenke coming in saying half of Taiwan Jones's contract is guaranteed. When they signed him to make this roster. And I don't disagree. I think Taiwan Jones, listen, it might be hyperbolic to say they're a stone cold lock, because anything, I was being a dick.
You kind of were. You kind of were.
Ow!
You kind of were. The people are on my side.
This is unbelievable.
Well,
you're never invited back here again. This is ridiculous.
Surprised I keep getting invited back. He won it, Nap. In case y'all don't know this, I'm in a group chat. I sent a message
to both of you.
No, I'm in a group chat with him, and he said, "Hey, Kyle, do you want to come on the air raid hour with me?" And I said, "I'm free." And he said, Kyle, do you want to come on? And Kyle was like, "I don't know if I can." And he was like, "Okay, well, Casey, that's fine. You can come on. So that's how it went. So he wanted Knapp, but he got my ass instead.
All right. So what happened was I texted the group chat, which is me, him.
What's
Knapp,
the name of the group chat?
The name of the group chat is Three Amigos, even though there's 4 of us in the chat. I think it's because you left one day because you were having a temper tantrum. And so I texted both you and Knapp at the same time in a group chat, and I said, listen, can one of you come on the show this Thursday? And you were like, well, why not both? And I said, because I don't like the 3-man overlay. I don't want to do a 3-man overlay the whole show.
We're a package.
I'm just not a big fan of it. Why do you think Ken only comes on for the back half? I don't like the 3-man overlay. And so I had you guys. I broke a pool cue in half. I threw it in the middle, and of course you won because you could beat a tiger.
I mean, at the end of the day, Knapp looks like Skeletor, so it is what it is.
All right, let's move it on now to tight end. I want to talk a little bit about tight end. This is another position that could get interesting here because I think they're going to give Mitch Trubisky a chance to prove himself. Tommy Sweeney in the walking boot. He's another guy who the Buffalo Bills are probably going to, my guess is, looking down the road, the Bills will probably cut Reggie Gilliam on the roster cutdown day. They'll waive him. Hopefully he clears waivers. The Buffalo Bills will then put Tommy Sweeney on IR and re-sign Reggie Gilliam to be your tight end number 3 because the tight end depth right now is just quite frankly lacking. And Reggie Gilliam gives you something that Nate Becker and Quentin Morris do not, and that's proven special teams ability, proven blocking ability, things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if Hollister and Knox dominate the first half snaps this game, and then it's a free for all of Reggie Gilliam, Nate Becker, and Quentin Morris in the second half. Am I underselling Quentin Morris? Am I underselling Nate Becker here? Even though everyone knows I'm a Nate Becker fan, do one of these guys really have a chance to step up and secure a roster spot now that Tommy Sweeney is in a walking boot? And Reggie Gilliam plays both, though. I mean, he's listed as a fullback, but he plays both.
I said Nate Becker was going to make the 53. So no, I don't think you're underhyping them. I mean, come on. I think they need to be on the field a lot more. But Tommy Sweeney did look really good. And by the way, I looked at my wife and we were watching the game, and I told her, I said, hey, look, it's just really awesome to see Tommy Sweeney back on the field and playing football. Like that was really awesome to see. And then he went out there and actually played really good. So you wish him the best, especially since
it's like that South Park scene where it's like, and it's gone.
And it's gone. Yeah. He gives us that taste, and then he's out.
He just walks away.
Tebow is available though.
Listen, we're not signing Tim Tebow.
We just talked about camp bodies and giving reps to people, right? You did that during the running backs, right?
You don't want that kind of attention.
Now you're talking about Tommy Sweeney's injured and blah 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 and we blah blah blah. Why wouldn't you sign Tebow to just have a camp body?
Because he's not a tight end.
Well, he's not a tight end. Yeah, Reggie not back. Is he in?
I even forgot to mention Bug Howard. So sorry, Bug Howard. I forgot to mention.
We're just arguing about nothing. Tebow has superpowers.
All right. So the defensive line, we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to keep on letting this defensive line. I'm going to let the youth just go at it. I'm not really interested in seeing Jerry Hughes. I'm not really interested in seeing Mario Addison, Starlo DeLele, even if you're counting the whole front seven, Edmonds, Milano, Klein. Like, I want to see the young defensive linemen. I want to see some more Tyrell Dodson. I'd like to see them get more than just a series or two. I'd like to see some of these young guys get the entire first half of this preseason game and see what they can bring, not just on 1 or 2 series, but sustained drive after drive after drive after drive. I want to see it for an entire first half. Do you think of asking some of these younger guys like Epinesa and Oliver and Zimmer and Phillips and Gregory Rousseau and Boogie Basham, asking these guys to play the entire first half? Do you think that's asking too much?
No, absolutely not. Right. You want to see what they can do. Right. And speaking of Epinesa, there's a play, man. There's a play where he slaps the hand. He gets a good bend right around the tackle, and he just collides at the quarterback with, I believe, was it Russo that he collided with?
Mm-hmm.
You know what play I'm talking about? How did that play make you feel, seeing Epinesa do that?
I mean, it's great. It's literally the package that we've been talking about since draft day. That
Yes.
NASCAR package where you got that length and that strength. There were some plays on defense where F.A. Obata and Boogie Basham were the two lining up at
Yes.
defensive tackle. Now, the watching the Buffalo Bills get carved up in the running game for years and years and years, you get a little concerned seeing when you see Boogie Basham and F.A. Obata, but like 2-3 techniques out there. And it also gives you a little bit of I don't know, just a bad taste in your mouth after what happened last year with the lack of star. But it just seems like the Buffalo Bills have sustained length and strength across the defensive line now. It's not just one or two deep. I mean, this team is literally 7 deep at defensive end, and they're 4 or 5 deep at defensive tackle. So this team is absolutely loaded and have the bodies to do it. So it should be really fun. It was really good to get a taste of it, and we're not even blitzing yet. So
Yeah, and
that's
you want to
where
see.
that's what I want to see, a first half. Like I want to see it for
Yes.
more than a drive or two. I want to see it sustained.
Yes. And that's what I was talking about. You want to see AJ Epinesa and you want to see Russo doing that every single drive. That would be awesome. I'm here for it.
But yeah, Bruce Nolan coming in saying the Buffalo Bills 2020 defensive line could be what we thought the 2020 defensive line could be with the inside-outside pieces. And I agree. And it's seeming more and more, day after day, like there's an opportunity because somebody up here, Richard Rush, man after my own heart, Butler is ass. I think there's a legitimate shot the Buffalo Bills could only keep 3 defensive tackles. Like Harrison Phillips and Justin Zimmer are on watch. It could be one or the other with Basham's ability.
Who is it?
I would go with Zimmer over Phillips.
Really?
And that's the thing. But I think that Harrison Phillips had a very good game against the Detroit Lions. So now I think it's probably leaning more towards 4 defensive tackles and 7 defensive ends. But a lot can change in 2 games, right? If Harrison Phillips comes in here in the next 2 games and keeps getting swallowed up by defenders and doesn't show what he showed against the Lions, well, then now it's back to, I think Justin Zimmer has the edge. If Harrison Phillips comes out here over the next 2 games and explodes, I think that okay, now it's starting to talk about maybe trying to sneak Justin Zimmer onto the practice squad. So it's fan reaction. We obviously don't see as much as what goes on in practice as others, but Jimmy Shive says Zimmer over Phillips. No, I think it's a distinct possibility. I think the Buffalo Bills absolutely love what they have in Justin Zimmer. I think that they absolutely love him as their 4th defensive tackle, a hustle type of player. They love the character and stuff that he brings to the locker room. I honestly think that if it came down to it, Harrison Phillips can play his way in, but there were points in this training camp this offseason where I would have picked Justin Zimmer over Harrison Phillips, and I still think I'm there. Because Justin Zimmer also has more term on his contract than Harrison Phillips. Harrison Phillips going into that contract year, Zimmer is a more cost-controlled player. So you could probably deal Harrison Phillips. Like if it came down to it, and I think Richard's right. At the end of the day, I think we keep 4, and it's Harrison, Starr, Oliver, and Zimmer. But at the end of the day, he's a guy who you might be able to get some capital for before you wanted to cut him. So
let me tell you, the jigsaw puzzle that is putting this 53-man roster together, it's killing me. My head is killing me right now because I'm sitting here thinking, you're keeping Harry, Starr, Oliver, and Zimmer. Who's gone now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is that one piece that you're having to take away, right? So, man, I'm glad I'm not Brandon Beane because he's going to have to cut Jake Kumro, and that's going to make a lot of fans really upset.
And Ryan comes in and says, "Is it time to stop dreaming of Jarrell Casey?" Probably. If they had a chance to sign him, they would have signed him. I know the Buffalo Bills early on in training camp had an offer out to Corey Peters, who ended up going back to Arizona. So the Buffalo Bills did have an offer out to a veteran defense tackle, and it wasn't Jarrell Casey who's sitting on the market. So I think that dream is gone. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Vernon Butler, and I want Vernon Butler to keep sucking. I want him to keep being invisible because Vernon Butler is, I think, the piece of this defensive line that we could push off. And I think it's a piece that everyone wants to push off of this roster. Somebody says, do you think Mario Addison's in trouble? No, I don't.
No,
I don't think he is. I think Vernon Butler is the guy that you would cut, even though you have to pay him.
Do you cut him or do you trade him?
If everyone knows you're going to cut him, what's the trade value, right? Like,
I mean, that's fair.
You get
that's
first dibs.
Fair.
So in terms of like Harrison Phillips, if you were trying to trade Harrison Phillips is a guy going into a contract year. He was a 3rd round pick like all these different things. Like there's still a little bit more developmental upside, I think, to a Harrison Phillips. You might want first dibs on that guy, and the contract is way cheaper. Vernon Butler, it's like, well, that's a big contract I'm trading for. Are the Buffalo Bills going to eat any of it? Like all these different conversations you're having with yourself. Well, they're just going to cut him anyway. I feel confident we could sign him, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I just really want Vernon Butler off this roster. But John Herring says not seeing much from Addison. From what most people are saying, he's looked good in camp. Like him and Hughes are probably going to be situational rushers this year, and the younger guys are going to get the early downs. But in terms of linebackers, transitioning out of linebackers, I want to see Tyrell Dodson more than a series or two.
This is going to be a tough battle.
And here, I personally think the 5 linebackers are set, and the battle is going to be for a 6 linebacker. You have Edmonds, Klein, Milano, I think are locks, right? Tyler Matakevich is a lock. I'm sorry, 6 linebackers. I think it's Dodson and Smith. Like Tyrell Adams, Markel Lee, Joe Giles-Harris, these guys are on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah.
I understand that Adams and Giles-Harris have done things in this league, but I mean, darn, like Tyrell Dodson looked good in his limited playing time. That's why I want to see him play more. And they gave Andre Smith a hell of a lot of run, and they've been chirping about his special teams ability. So if I'm the Buffalo Bills and Adams or Giles-Harris or Lee plays well, they're on the outside looking in, and this is again another opportunity for maybe possibly trade bait. That's how loaded this team is. The guys we're going to cutting at every single position could possibly be trade bait.
Yeah. So who you taking, Dodson or Smith? Right? If it came down to it, who is it going to be? Dodson. Be special teams.
Dodson. I listen. If it's Dodson or Smith, I'm taking Dodson because Dodson can play special teams, even if it's not as well as Smith. And Dodson can literally back up at every position along the linebacking core. You love that versatility in your backups, and I think he flashed. And I think Tyrell Dodson could probably be a starter next year in AJ Klein's spot on the strong side. So I think that Tyrell Dodson has a future on this football team. And I think Tyrell Dodson has a huge future in this league. Andre Smith played very good. I think it's going to end up being both. I think you're going to see both at the end. Ryan saying he take Andre Smith over Tyrell Dodson. Whoa, that's shocking to me. But here's the thing. I take them both over Tyrell Adams at this point because Tyrell Adams is on that 1-year deal. He's older. He's a veteran. I would rather take those younger guys that the Buffalo Bills have invested some time in, some capital in. Tyrell Dodson, they've invested time in. Andre Smith, they traded a 7th-round draft pick for, even though they got it back, and they've invested some time in him as well. So if I'm the Buffalo Bills, it's Andre Smith and Tyrell Dodson, and the rest are just chasing ghosts at this point.
You getting younger, is that just for the linebacker position, or taking younger guys over veterans? Is that just for the linebacker position, or is that your football philosophy as a whole?
I think Ty goes to the youth, right? Ty goes to the youth. Okay. Ty goes to the guy with term on his contract.
I got you.
Obviously, every situation is different. The Buffalo Bills are knocking at the door, but you're looking at a football team that needs to pay Teron Johnson next year and has a number of contracts that Tremaine Edmonds they need to pay over the next couple of years. Like they're going to be up towards the tippy top of the salary cap, and the Buffalo Bills need to have these young players under term for a long time who can go out there and contribute. So
Stevenson's younger than Kumaro.
Listen, like I said, situations matter.
Yep, situations matter.
In this situation, it doesn't. In some situations, it does, and some it doesn't. You fucking want to get me right in that trap, didn't you? You had that planned all along.
It worked so well.
You are way smarter than I thought you were, man.
It worked so well.
I don't give you enough credit.
Oh well, we'll go with veteran on one position, but we won't go on another position, which is the
I said my exact
situations matter.
Circumstances
matter. One can play special teams. One was drafted to play special teams.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to the secondary now. Jaquan Johnson has missed practice, even though he looked good in that preseason game. I don't need to see Trey White. I don't need to see Jordan Poyer. I don't need to see Micah Hyde. I don't need to see Teron Johnson. Maybe either this game or the third game, they get a couple of series or two just to get warmed up. But I'll tell you what, whether it's Dane Jackson or Rashad Wildgoose or Nick McLeod or Josh Thomas or DeMar Hamlin, I'd like to see the Buffalo Bills ring up some more blitzes. Yeah. Because I'd like to see the DBs play in a more game-like situation. Like the way the Buffalo Bills are rushing the passer in the Lions game, they weren't sending anybody. So if the D-line didn't get there in time, the quarterback had all day to throw, and that leaves your defensive backs on an unrealistic island. So people were harping on Dane Jackson, like, oh, Dane Jackson gave up that big catch. Well, he was playing cover 2, and there was a running back in the flank. So his responsibility was that running back. And yeah, Jared Goff had all day to put that fucking throw between the safety and the corner. So I would like to see a game situation where maybe the pass rush gets there sooner and that ball is wobbly and out of bounds. It never happens because the quarterback had some pressure on him. Like, I want to see the DBs in more realistic game situations, because I do think that some of these DBs later on, it's a disservice to them to be putting them out there on an island like that, because obviously, they're no Darrelle Revis. They can't handle their own island yet. I think we need to see guys like Dane and DeMar and Justin Thomas in their own, Josh Thomas, excuse me, in a little bit more of a game type situation where there's some blitzing from the guys in front of them.
I need to see Nick McLeod earlier, and I need to see more reps from him, right? Because he was everything that Bills Mafia hyped up Wild to be. Like McLeod, the way he played, right, in that first preseason game was exactly what Wild Goose was supposed to be, except Wild Goose didn't turn out that well. He didn't have a good game. He didn't have a good first preseason game. So I want to see Nick McLeod come out there. And of course, he did more than just be a great actor on a fake pick six. He did a lot more than that. And I want to see him sooner, right? That is the one guy that I want to see, get way more reps. Or they might just do the Lenoir spot and just don't play him, right? So they can stash him. He's got big practice squad vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of potential there from Nick McLeod, and it wouldn't surprise me the way he played in that first game if maybe he earns, like, all right, we're gonna sit Levi this game, so he earns the he earns that spot opposite Dane Jackson or whatever. So it could be interesting. Maybe they try to send a message to a Dane Jackson and start Nick McLeod and Levi Wallace and leave Dane Jackson to come in later and throw us all for a loop. But yeah, I think you're right. A guy like Nick McLeod has earned more playing time, and it's a huge opportunity for Josh Thomas and DeMar Hamlin and Tariq Thompson to step up, with Jaquan Johnson possibly not playing with an injury. Chris Jenke coming in saying, Judge, beginning of the show, you said you wanted to see the Bills get pressure on the quarterback without blitzing. If that's what I said, it's not 100% what I meant. What I meant was what I kind of meant.
Buddy.
Listen, you're getting in my head. You got me rattled, but at least what I thought came out was my expectation is the Buffalo Bills are not going to blitz, and that it's encouraging if you see them get pressure without blitzing on a quarterback like Andy Dalton who gets the ball out quick. So my expectation is we're not going to see the blitz, right? And if we don't see the blitz and we get pressure, that's super encouraging because of a quarterback like Andy Dalton getting the ball out quick. But I personally would like to see some blitzes to give the DBs a better evaluation. So that's where I was going with that. And Lone Wolf going off topic. Jason Kroom was carted off today. Yeah, it was tough to see Jason Kroom getting carted off what would look like a knee injury. Also there, Tyree Jackson breaking a bone in his back, and he's going to be out for 3 months. So it's not good to be an ex-Buffalo Bills player playing for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Me and Chris Jenke were going back earlier joking, like what former Buffalo Bills tight end can they sign to get hurt now? Is it going to be Kahari Lee or Keith Tobridge or
Kufasi?
He's with the Packers. I know what you're getting at.
As of now, he is, but Aaron Rodgers said he really liked him.
So now what you're saying is that we can take Aaron Rodgers' word for Brendan Kofisi, but we can't take his word for
take his word for
Jake Kumerow?
I'm just following what the fans say we should do.
You're a man of the people.
Just saying. I'm the man of the people.
I think Jordan Matthews is with San Francisco. I didn't see him get cut. He might have gotten cut, but I believe Jordan Matthews was with San Francisco. All right. Last thing before we get into some open mic here. We got special teams. Obviously, it's fun to see Tyler Bass knocking down some kicks. You want to see Tyler Bass get as many kicks in as possible, even though I'd rather see some tutties. Maybe get himself some extra point practice. But I want to see some consistency from Matt Haack, right? Like, I want to see Matt Haack had a great game. Matt Haack had a great game against the Detroit Lions. I would like to see that again and carry over from game to game, because we still have nightmares about how inconsistent Corey Bojorquez was. Great one punt, awful the next. Great one punt, awful the next. So I think in terms of Matt Hawk, we want to start to see some consistency. And that's why I'm glad the Buffalo Bills didn't really bring any competition in for him or Tyler Bass this training camp. Just let these dudes just keep punting and kicking and punting and kicking and just get them as many reps as possible. But yeah, his hang time was nice, and I want to see it continue. What are your thoughts on kickers and punters?
I love kickers and punters. I think there's a competition that we're not talking about, and that's long snapper right now. Tyler Medikevich has been practicing long snapper, and at the end of the day, could be a cheaper option than Reed Ferguson. Reed just got that massive contract, but as we know, Brandon Beane is the GM that's not afraid to cut him as soon as he signs him. So, there's some competition out there.
Didn't you have Reed Ferguson on your podcast?
I did. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and you just want to take food out of his family's mouth.
I am not saying that, right? I am saying that there's competition out there.
Who's younger, Tyler Medikevich or Reed Ferguson?
Medikevich. He just looks younger. I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's true. He just looks younger. Very handsome guy.
Last but not least, I'd like to see some pulse in the return game. Like, I know it wasn't anyone's fault in that Detroit Lions game. There wasn't much of an opportunity to return any kicks or some punts, but wouldn't that reassure some fans if we could see a nice kick or punt return in this game?
I said it earlier in the offseason that when Stevenson returns a kickoff for a touchdown, all this hype will then turn to him, and people are going to be like, I've loved him since the beginning. But there was actually a chance for a good, decent-sized return. Isaiah McKenzie had the turf monster come up and grab him by the leg and jerk him down. He did. He had – I'm not saying he would have scored, but like he would have a pretty decent chunk of yardage there. So that was a good one I saw. Outside of that, no. But I would like to see Stevenson in the return game more and see what he has to offer back there, right? Because that's why he was drafted, to play special teams.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get into the open mic section of tonight's show. So whatever you guys want to talk about, let us know in the comment section. But before we do, got a little image I want to bring up here. And the people in the comment section, I want you guys to vote. Who is Casey Reed? Who does he look most like? I've got Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump when he let the hair grow out and ran the marathon. I've got the guy from Duck Dynasty who you said you thanked me for picking the skinny one. What's this guy's name?
That's Jace, if anybody's wondering.
That's Jace. And I think this is the best comp right here. The last one here. And that is Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny playing the Vietnam vet to try to hook up with strippers. I think that is probably the most accurate depiction of you. But let us know in the comment sections. What are your thoughts?
How long?
John Herring says you look like you got a squirrel on your neck.
That doesn't make sense.
Kyle's going with Duck Dynasty.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate
Jimmy
that.
says the war vet Charlie.
Jimmy's always out there to give you some comment.
Yeah. All right. Hulk Smash says Duck Dynasty as well. We got some comments in from the comment section. Now I'm going to start with this one, and then we're going to get to a good one about Stephon Diggs as well. Christian Wade should return a few if he's healthy. I'm down to see Christian Wade return some kicks and punts. I know you are.
Yeah, I need another preseason Christian Wade highlight. Like, that's what I need. But then again, Christian Wade was a rugby star. So you have to, like, that was one of his biggest comps, right? Like, he should be able to return the football. So yeah, I would love to see him return it. I'm going Jace for Forrest. Yeah, thanks, Don. I appreciate you.
We got John Herring coming in saying, are we worried about the Diggs injury? I'm not worried yet. I know our guy Alex Lucci, the thigh doctor, did a little bit of an article on him this week. You can go check it over at thebuffalofanatics.com. I'm not worried yet. Like if we start seeing him still missing practices after the Packers game, then I'll start to worry. But you don't see anyone at One Bills Drive right now really batting an eye, concerned about this injury, making it seem like it's going to be a long-term thing. If anything, they might be resting him longer than they need to just to make sure it doesn't become a reoccurring thing. And that's the luxury of having a wide receiving core that's so deep. When you have a guy like Jake Kumaro as wide receiver 6.
Yeah, and Stevenson.
And who can come in and step in for a guy like Stephon Diggs on your first team, and you got Emmanuel Sanders and Gabriel Davis and Cole Beasley and Isaiah McKenzie. I think then like you have that luxury of not having to rush guys back in the preseason. So that's good to see, because the Buffalo Bills really do need Stephon Diggs in the regular season. Again, that Athletic article that came out this week talked just about how important Stephon Diggs is for the Buffalo Bills in beating man coverages.
I'm not worried either. And the reason why I'm not worried is kind of similar to you, but like I said it on Nabno's, Buffalo podcast that comes out every Friday. So check us out. We're also on YouTube. But I said it on there yesterday, and it was, if he was injured, he wouldn't be out on the field. He wouldn't be that player coach, right? He would be rehabbing. He would be doing something. So I agree. He's resting, right? They've got him resting. But yeah, if he was injured, he probably wouldn't be out on the field trying to help people run routes and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is not a Dak Prescott situation where the Dallas Cowboys are clearly hiding something.
Don't call it a comeback. He's getting another MRI.
Chris Jenke says, do you think we see more out of Hollister and Mike Love on Saturday? I think we see more out of Hollister. Like I said, I think my prediction is Mitch Trubisky gets the entire first half. And my guess is part of that first half, he'll get Dawson Knox, and part of that first half, he'll get Jacob Hollister in some way, shape, or form. You might see some 12 personnel. You might see Hollister alone with, in 11 personnel, etc. So I think Hollister will get some more run. And Mike Love is tricky. It seemed like maybe the Buffalo Bills are trying to send a message to Boogie Basham about his conditioning or about, his play by playing him so deep into the game. And Mike Love did not get a ton of snaps. But again, this could also be a situation where they're just trying, again, we're making so many, assumptions tonight. But Mike Love could be a guy the Buffalo Bills are trying to hide, because you know how much the Buffalo Bills love Mike Love. This guy has been on this football team forever. If it wasn't for an injury to him 2 years ago, he probably would have been starting or on the active roster for this football team. And then whenever he does get his chance to play, he always does seem to show up. He's always played well in the preseason when he's had the opportunity 2 years ago. And in that Miami game last year, he flashed as well. I remember that play he had in the goal line where he beat his man, had a tackle in the backfield. So Mike Love always seems to show up whenever he gets an opportunity. So this could once again be a situation where they are trying to hide him. Chris Jenke says the Pats are spanking the Eagles. I'll tell you what, I don't like to put too many assumptions into the preseason, but the Lions are a bad football team. Like the Buffalo Bills were running the same version of 3 plays for a majority of that football game, and the Lions were still losing. And the Philadelphia Eagles are bad. They're not a good football team. They are shallow. There is not a lot of depth to that football team. And I understand it's preseason, but the lack of depth on some of these football teams is absolutely showing. Whether it's the Lions, whether it is the Eagles.
Now, hold up.
And that's why I'm glad the Buffalo Bills are so deep.
Cam Newton is really zipping the ball out there tonight. He's starting to look MVP Cam Newton. So let's
okay.
Let's give him some credit.
No. Okay. You want to talk about Colin J. Kumo is a lock is overreacting. Saying Cam Newton against the Philadelphia Eagles second team. Team not blitzing.
There were so many people.
2015 Cam.
ESPN, people like that. They were.
You were being sarcastic.
Obviously, I was being sarcastic.
Oh,
Steve,
my
you look at we're on the show. You can see it in my face. You can hear it in my voice.
I thought you were being dead ass serious.
Why would I be dead ass serious about Cam Newton? Come on, Steve. You know me longer than that.
Coming in. This is funny. I might need to find that video of Mac Jones scrambling and sliding. It is funny.
Play the circus
music.
It is
funny. Yeah, it is really funny. But yeah, it's I mean, Drew Lock came out and shredded the Minnesota's backups the other night too. So it'll be really interesting to see. So comment section, anything left for us as we wind down here on a Thursday night here? Anything that we missed tonight, Casey?
It feels like a Friday. Does it feel like a Friday to you?
I wish it was a Friday, because that'd be one day closer to football Saturday.
Yeah, that's true.
I wish the Bills were playing again tomorrow night. I'm kind of mad that I have to wait all the way until Saturday. But hey, every game's on NFL Network this year, so I don't have to worry about this. Someone wants us to fight. Trix wants us to fight.
It would turn into something that's not good for YouTube and for other channels.
What's that scene that scene in Old School with Blue?
Yeah,
me,
you my
me,
boy.
me and
Blue.
you, me and you, me and you in a tub full of what was that? KY jelly.
So I've seen this comment twice.
Moving on.
No, I've seen it twice. You have to talk about it.
All right. So if Rousseau finishes the preseason with 4 sacks, are ready to start the talks of Mario Williams like production expectations.
Yes.
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, a length and strength player on the left end. He's a guy where here's the thing with between him and Mario though. Like Mario was a lot more polished coming out of NC State, but Gregory Rousseau is, and he could pack on some weight and become a very similar athlete, but he wins in a very similar way, and he wins with his arm length. Like you saw Penei Sewell, like Gregory Rousseau stuck his arm out, and Penei Sewell's arms weren't long enough to keep up.
Like a T-Rex.
Yeah, and people like to make fun of Chris Collinsworth for saying that Gregory Rousseau has like a slappy production and slappy moves, but he really does. He's kind of just flailing around out there, and his physical ability helps him to get to the quarterback. So I don't know if I want to call him. I don't know if I want to expect Mario Williams' production in his first year, but I think he can be an intimidating force out there on the defense with his physical skill sets alone. But as he starts to maybe add a little bit of weight, as he starts to add more pass rushes to his repertoire, moving into year 2, moving into year 3, if this guy can go out and get 8 to 10 sacks in his rookie year off of just physical capabilities alone, the sky is the limit for this dude. And we're talking about a JJ Watt, a Mario Williams type of talent, a guy who can push 20 sacks once he is able to fill out his frame, and once he's able to add pass rush to his repertoire. The ceiling is there for him to do that. Whether he can reach that ceiling, you can't say that at this point yet. But the physical capabilities are there to add between the ears what it takes to become that type of player.
You are so well spoken. Does anybody ever tell
Thank
you
you.
that?
No.
You say words that I wouldn't even begin to try to pronounce.
What word did I use there that tripped you up? Repertoire?
I'm not pronouncing it because I wouldn't dare try to pronounce it on a live YouTube show.
Was it repertoire?
I'm not telling you, Steve.
But yeah, John Herring says people were considering him a bust. Actually, I want to take a second.
Steve
I want to give you a pat on the back because you were in the Gregory Rousseau fan club, right?
You're right.
So tell us about what you liked about Gregory Rousseau when he was coming out of the draft, because you were the first one. You were the first
That's
one.
Fair. That's fair. Keep pumping it up. Keep going.
Look,
you know what?
I'm not trying to pump you up. I'm not one to pump you up because you're. I'm not one to pump you up because you're BF. But you are literally the first person that I saw on social media that was actively hyping Gregory Rousseau, and then I didn't really see it again until Marcel Louis Jacques picked him in an ESPN fantasy draft like 2 days before the draft. So between Marcel's ESPN2 show and the 3 months in between where you were screaming his name, you were the only one that I really saw on that Gregory Rousseau train, because the Buffalo Bills didn't really have a lot of connections to Miami, even though we probably should have seen it because Sean McDermott and Manny Diaz have worked together before.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on Gregory Rousseau coming out, and why did you like him so much?
That's a good question. I went to go and turn on Miami film to find Gregory Rousseau, right? Because that was one of the names that I'd heard, like, hey, check out, Rousseau, blah, blah, blah. And I found Jalen Phillips, right? And then I fell in love with Jalen Phillips. And then after falling in love with Jalen Phillips, I was like, well, now I have to figure out what Rousseau is doing. And it's everything that we've already mentioned, right? It's his length, the way that he was able to just immediately get past people, get in the backfield. People forget that he was he tied, or did he come in second with now I'm drawing a blank. Who's the kid for the Washington football team, right? They got drafted like number 1.
Chase Young.
Yeah, so Chase Young. So he was tied or second to Chase Young in sacks, right? When he played, and then he took a year off for COVID. So people forget all about that, right? And of course, he takes it off. Scouts start doubting him, right? They're saying that he's too thin at his position. He can't do this. That's what really started to make me mad, because I don't know if I was talking to you. 9 times out of 10, if we're talking draft or we're talking players, it's probably you or Kendall or Steve. Not Steve, but yeah, or Steve or Tilt. But it's like sacks. You can't teach sacks, right? Sacks are going to translate. right? So if the boy's putting up, close to 20 sacks, why are we not giving him the credit? And I think that's what really drew me to him to begin with.
And that's what Brandon Bean said. Like, you don't fall into 18 sacks, and he had just started playing the position. And Mr. Free and Clear comes in and says, hey, if he hadn't taken that COVID year off, or like say, hey, COVID hadn't existed, and he had and he had gotten to play opposite of Jalen Phillips, because those two never played together.
Yes.
I wonder who would have gotten the number 15, by the way, because they both wore 15.
Russo would have.
But if he would have gotten to play on the opposite end of Jalen Phillips, and probably would have put up 15, 20 sacks again. It's crazy to think where the Buffalo Bills would have gotten him. And seems to be and yes, taking the year off isn't accurate. He was working out, all those different things. He took off because of COVID. It's not like
for sure.
Wasn't sitting on his couch eating Cheetos or anything.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. You come at me quite often, Jimmy.
But it's just interesting. I lost my train of thought here, but
Phillips didn't fall into 10. I love Jalen Phillips.
The Buffalo Bills seem to. This is what they're going for, right? Like, they go for these high ceiling players. Like, if Spencer Brown can put it all together, he's as physically gifted as any offensive tackle in the National Football League. If Gregory Rousseau can put it together, he's as physically gifted as any defensive end in the National Football League. Dawson Knox, same thing. Any tight end in the National Football League, if he can put it together. So the Buffalo Bills do look for these guys with freak measurables and hope that they can coach them up. Now, we are seeing with Dawson Knox that, like, okay, maybe sometimes, like, wow, some of these guys are going to test your patience, but it seems like Gregory Rousseau is a guy who's going to come in from day one, and he's going to reap you some benefits. So looking forward to seeing a guy like Gregory Rousseau. Yeah, it should be interesting. It's really interesting too that the Buffalo Bills go for all these freaks at all these positions, and then at running back took Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, two guys who, like, their numbers aren't the greatest in the world. I know Math Bomb was all up in your comments today, speaking of Raz numbers and things like that.
Yeah, we go way back because everybody knows how much I love Raz. But we were just discussing Pizza Raz scores, so that was fine. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. We got John Herring coming in saying possible defensive rookie of the year.
I can see it.
It depends. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other players that are going to be getting a lot of playing time. Zaven Collins in Arizona is going to be starting on a weekly basis. There are other players who could be playing like every single down, as opposed to Gregory Rousseau, who's going to be playing in a heavy rotation. So I don't want to put that on him yet. Like the guy in Micah Parsons in Dallas will be playing every single down. So I think it's going to be easier for guys like that to put up the numbers and get the highlights necessary to win an award like that. But if Groot can push double-digit sacks and he can slap his way into those sacks, I can see him being a possibility for Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is crazy because after he was drafted, we were all talking about whether he would redshirt. So we thought Boogie Basham would be the guy, but yeah. And Richard coming in saying Boogie is having a slower start because he's learning two positions. That is true. He was kicking inside a lot in that preseason game. So yeah, it's really interesting. And then Zaven Collins comes in and says, or Jimmy comes in and says, Zaven Collins looked very good. Who'd have thunk it? I think some guy named Randy did, Jimmy. I don't know who you are, but some guy named Randy was really high on Zaven Collins. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are an hour and a half in, so that should just about do it for this evening. I guess I should thank my guest host for the night, Casey Reed, and I guess I should probably give him a platform to share about where you can find his work and his co-host Kyle Knapp's work.
So I'm going to plug the pod because I like the pod, not because of Kyle. But every Friday we come out for podcast listens, and then we're out again on YouTube. I think a day later, or the same day. The same day. We're out on YouTube the same day. Yeah. And in fact, there's a couple people that I see Don comments on our YouTube ever so often. So if you want to go back and you want to watch us as well as listen to us, it's every Friday. So we got tomorrow. Hey, it's gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about AFC East. We're gonna talk about the Dolphins, and
you got a special guest tomorrow.
We do. We have Kev.
Fan.
I love
Yeah.
Kevin. Kevin and Nat got into a fight, and I was actually the calm one. So if you want to come and you want to check that out, yeah, it's every Friday.
All right. So you can catch the Nap Knows Buffalo podcast every Friday on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcasting Network. And you can also catch it on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel here, not live, but on tape delay, as they
Tape
would say.
delay.
It's still a good time. Still a good time. And yeah, the Miami guy, John Herring. And you can also catch Casey's trolling on Twitter at CashOutBF.
It's
can
not
also
trolling.
go-
I say the truth.
And you can also check out his degenerate gambling takes on there as well. Are you going to be doing some
Yeah, that's
gambling
coming.
pieces for Fanatics too this year?
Yeah, that's coming back. I talked to Zach, our editor in chief, and I was telling him when I wanted to come out and do it. I'd like to get the bets out on Wednesday so people can actually look at them and put them in. But yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna be gambling. I'm gambling on preseason. I'm a degenerate, baby.
It used to be my underground, but they actually DraftKings should be legal by the start of the season here now. So I don't need you to be my go-between anymore.
Let's not tell people that I was your bookie because I think that's illegal.
I mean, we're sponsored by NordVPN, so I pretty much sell it by telling people they can break the law by illegally streaming things on a weekly basis here. So it's all good. It's not like we're on video or anything. We're it's fine.
Yeah, no big deal. Get audited.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you guys so much. As always, the show would not be what it is without you guys in the comment section. So we appreciate the compliments, and we appreciate you guys for just bringing something to the show that. Like, listen, me and him could have sat here and we could have gotten stuck in the weeds, yelling back and forth at each other about Jake Monroe for 4 hours. But you guys brought some levity to this show, and you guys bring your great takes as always and great talking points as always. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and go Bills.
Go Bills.